Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to part 3 of our live mini-series on strategy. We're very pleased to be joined again by Christmas elf, Chris, in a very snazzy hat this month. Chris is the founder of Mongrel Consulting. He's also a director, member of the board of VMG, and he has been running this mini-series for us. So we've looked at planning, we've looked at deciding on what your strategy should be, and in this third and final session, we're going to look at how to actually put it into action. So, Chris, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. Hello, everybody. And if you're watching this before Christmas, Merry Christmas, obviously, and Happy New Year and all that kind of jazz. So, yes, welcome to the finale of our strategy mini-series. So, previously on Strategy Mini Bursts, in the first episode, I spoke about strategy as being a process of taking a reality check, deciding on the goals for the business for the next wee while, and gearing everything up to achieving those goals. About asking, why do we do what we do? Where are we now? Where do we want to be? How will we get there? And how will we know when we're there? But it's ultimately about finding your sweet spot by understanding and aligning the purpose, i.e. the vision and mission of your practice, with your internal resources and capabilities and the external competitive environment, and gaining an advantage over your competitors in what you're offering to customers, and avoiding or steering back from incongruence whereby one of those elements, your purpose, your resources, or the market, has become detached from the others, or worse still, they're all detached and you're what they call a lost organisation whose services, markets and values are all out of alignment. I think we've had enough of that. Okay, so the first, we haven't had enough of that, because I also talked about what was the first question. I asked you to use these to answer the question, where are we now? I suggested you use the 4 C's perspective on your practice to think about what you do for animals in terms of services offered, clinical standards, and providing a caring, safe and happy environment for your patients. What you do for your customers in providing a customer experience that attracts and bonds the customers we want and who would recommend us to other people. What you do for your colleagues to attract, develop, engage and retain a team of people who support and challenge and care for each other in the delivery of outstanding clinical, client, people and business performance. And what you do for the financial health of the business, generating a reasonable profit through maximising income and controlling costs, which makes sure the business is sustainable, which protects jobs, attracts investment, allows you to develop and grow, and provides fair reward for people for the work that they put in. Ask you also to use your team, or at least get different perspectives from different departments within your practice, and to think about your purpose, external factors that impact on your business, your internal resources, your customers, your competitors, and your services. So ask you to think about all that, and if you were so inclined, you could also use these models to help you think about those external and internal factors. But ultimately, all that was just to help you complete a SWOT analysis, so you could simply answer the question, where are we now? And to start to prepare for episode 2 and the where do we want to be, which required some general thinking around what's our focus and our rough direction of travel, bearing in mind that it's obviously impossible to do well at being everything to everybody. And that strategy is a quest for value, and price is just one component of the value equation. And again, I suggested a couple of other tools for anybody who really wanted to go deep on this. But ultimately, it was all about turning that SWOT into a TOWS and making some choices. So you then had ideas from your SWOT narrowed down to just a few strategic goals per area, and you could start to create this 3-year strategic plan. Oh yeah, and I also mentioned it'd be great if you could please download VMG's Leadership Standards Framework report and fill out the online assessment tool to help with our research and also help you ascertain where you might want some development. Future microbursts will also come from critical areas of the report. In the meantime, welcome to the finale of Strictly Come Strategy, which focuses on how we might implement the strategy and monitor it, i.e. how we're going to get from here to there and how we'll know when we're actually there. So the final strategic question to answer is, how will we get to where we want to be? Last time I introduced you to two fictional practices at differing ends of the pet care market. So we had It's a Snip veterinary practice, which specialises in high volume, low cost neutering. So you pay extra for anything outside the basic operation protocol and minimum legal and ethical requirements. We also introduced top quality Amazeballs Vet in Essex, a high-end veterinary practice that doesn't only neuter your pets using best practice anaesthetic protocols, and pain relief is inclusive for everybody, but for an additional fee you can also take home your pooch's testicles in one of our display units, or have your cat's ovaries and uterus turned into a unique artwork or put on your wall to impress your friends and neighbours. Check out our Christmas specials. So here's the kind of plans that they might have come up with. So first of all, Amazeballs Vets, their plan is obviously going to reflect their focus on differentiation through quality of care and bespoke customer service. So the vision, which is what of course they want to be, where they're heading, their vision is to be, for example, the premier provider of bespoke veterinary care in Essex, setting standards for excellence in animal health and client excellence across the county and beyond. Their mission, i.e. why they exist, is to provide unparalleled veterinary care by combining cutting-edge technology, extensive expertise, and a personalised approach to enhance the health and well-being of every individual pet. So the kind of values that they may have would be around, for example, excellence, personalisation, innovation, and integrity, with the definitions and descriptions of each value in detail geared towards the practice's vision and mission. So, for example, innovation might be continually advancing our practices and technologies to improve patient, client, and colleague experiences. And their objectives may look like the ones that are outlined here, and their strategies for achieving those objectives and measures of success might look like the sorts of things that I've included on here. So, for example, they might have a clinical objective to deliver exceptional clinical outcomes for advanced medical practices and technologies. So their strategy might be something around advanced knowledge, something around advanced equipment and techniques, and something around providing referral level services, for example. So they might define strategies around those, and they might measure success in terms of the number of vets and nurses that have advanced certificates, or the percentage of reception team with BVRA qualifications, number of CT scans, lap space, etc. they do, or number of referrals to each discipline. So those are the sorts of things that they might do. And then we had It's a Snip, and their plan would reflect more their focus on cost control and process efficiency. So their vision, i.e. what they want to be and where they're heading, for them is to be the most affordable vet in town. And the reason they exist, their mission, is to offer comprehensive, cost-effective treatment through innovative practices, ensuring every pet receives the care they need without financial strain for their owners, for example. And the kind of values that they might have might be around affordability, efficiency, transparency, and innovation as well, because the definitions, as I say, of each value is really geared towards that particular practice's vision and mission. So innovation for Amazeballs might be around continuously improving procedural and cost management practices, rather than Amazeballs' focus on the client experience. And again, their objectives may look something like the ones on here, and their strategies for achieving those objectives and measures of success might look like the sorts of things that are outlined here. So again, for example, if we take a clinical objective, it may be to continuously improve clinical efficiencies to reduce costs without compromising care quality. So their strategies around that might involve optimizing inventory management and implementing standardized treatment protocols, for example. And then they would have some measures around maybe a percentage reduction in clinical waste, or their percentage spent on drugs and consumables and that sort of thing, and compliance rate with protocols. So those are the sorts of things that they might have come up with on these strategic plans. So back to you. Having done all the strategic analysis and made some choices, then at this stage you should have broadly sketched out a 3-year plan on a template similar to this one here, with some ideas down of what you will use to measure the success of your strategies. This target framework that I put on here is quite useful to clarify specifically what you're shooting at. So you can record your current position for each of your strategies, where you would like them to be at the end of year 3, and where you would aim for them to be at the end of year 1 as you progress towards that 3-year plan. So this can help you define your goals more tightly, clarify your high-level measures of success, and can be quite a neat representation of your 1 and 3-year goals on one page. So I've split each strategic area into 3 sections, so you can write in up to 3 strategic goals for each of the strategic areas: clinical, customer, colleague, and commercial. And once you've done that, once you've peppered this target, you can then fill out the strategic plan template for the coming year and update your 3-year one with the specific measures of success that you're looking to achieve. So, for example, one of your customer strategic goals may be to develop a pet health plan. So in one of the 3 sections of the customer area, you could map that out. So your current position is no pet health plan. Your 3-year strategy may be to have, for example, 30% of active clients on the pet health plan. And your strategy for the coming year is to simply launch a pet health plan and maybe have 10% of active clients on it by year end. So that's kind of how you would use this particular framework. Quick reminder to try and make your goals as smart as possible. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the SMART acronym, about your goals being specific, being measurable, so quantify them, or at least suggest an indicator of progress, achievable, that they're relevant to the big picture objective that you're trying to achieve, and they're time bound, so you know when are you going to get these things done by. Now, don't get overly rigid with the SMART approach. So some things really worth doing may not be easily measured. So sometimes a description of the situation as it is now, how you envisage it looking in year 1 and then in year 3, might be all that you can give, but that's still something you can crudely measure yourself against. Do use it as a checklist, though, to make sure that what you're recording broadly fits within its parameters. Suppose you want to be a great place to work. So how might you approach that as an objective? Well, firstly, who is going to own that objective and how are you going to measure it? There's some examples here. If you want to be a great place to work, well, maybe you'll have an employee engagement survey or some other kind of data that you would use to measure that. Next, what strategies might you look at to achieve it, and which ones will you focus on right now? So I've put a few examples here, the kind of strategies you might want to think about. I've put leadership development first, because without the right leadership and management behaviours in place, you'll never be a great place to work. As Marcus Buckingham put it, people join companies and leave managers. So you'll want to pick from these strategies. What are you going to do? Which are you going to focus on? Who's going to oversee each of these strategies? And how will you define it or describe it? And how will the success of that strategy be measured? So, for example, here we might have that that currently none of our management team have any formal leadership training, so we've got 0% there. In 3 years' time, you might want 100% of them to have the VMG level 5 certificate, but by year 1 you might have targeted a few specific people to complete that certificate, for example. Okay. Most strategies will have a level of complexity and require a set of tactical plans to achieve them. So let's remember, objectives are the goals we want to achieve. So that's your vision and mission translated into kind of goals for the next 1 to 3 years, considering the 4 C's perspectives. The strategy is what's our broad game plan to achieve those objectives. And then the tactics are, what actions are we going to take to comply with and in pursuit of that strategy? And they tend to be actionable, granular tasks and projects. But again, as with a lot of this stuff, it overlaps. It's a little bit woolly. It's a broad framework. Don't get too hung up on, is this a strategy or is it a tactic? Crudely, strategies describe what you're looking to do and tend to be broader in scope and can be broken down more than tactics, which are more about the details of how exactly you're going to enact the strategy, and they tend to change more frequently than a strategy does. So take, for example, the strategy of growing a pet health plan membership. Now, there may be sets of tactics in here around reviewing the pricing and what you include in the plan. There may be something around, are we going to rebrand this plan? obviously stuff around the marketing of it, the digital marketing and traditional marketing of a pet health plan. Something perhaps around the education and awareness of employees, your vets, nurses and reception teams, so that they understand the benefits and the importance to pets, to clients and to the practice of clients signing up to these plans. You might have some kind of sales thing going on where you're targeting appropriate clients, so you might have some tactics around that. And certainly you would want to have something that looks at how you sell the plan at different points of the client journey, so integrating that into the client journey. And whoever is responsible for that strategy will need to keep track of the tactical plan through regular catch-ups and this kind of action-based approach to drive things forward. So you want to know who's doing what, by when, has it been done, what's the next step, and all that kind of thing. So a simple kind of spreadsheet to capture your actions with those bits and pieces on is quite handy. Many strategies also involve change, uncertainty and risk, and bringing people on a journey with you. We can often fail to predict the time that things will take to do and the problems that we're going to encounter, and try to do too much at one time. So when you're thinking about all of this, it's going to be very tempting to want to do everything everywhere all at once. Just try and get a bit of focus. Bear in mind, people are already incredibly busy doing their day-to-day jobs, and once you start to introduce change, that's something else that's going to be a drag on their time. So if there's one thing about change that you should always do, is go, what can we take away from people so that they have the bandwidth to manage this? So you may want to adopt a change management approach to some strategies, and obviously very complex strategies you might be adopting a project management approach to. Finally, it's all well and good having a plan and cracking on with actions to drive it forward, but you'll also need to track progress against your goals. So a balanced scorecard approach, this is adapted from Kaplan Norton 1992's work, and captures the 4 C's that, as you know, I like to bang on about. This is a good way of looking at it, and it's good to present any metrics all together for a rounded view of performance. So you're not looking at things in isolation, that you have the financial, the customer, the people and clinical measures there in front of you. Ideally a nice kind of one-pager that has them all there with some detailed pages below it, but a nice sort of front page on however you present these things that shows you how things are looking. It helps you prevent one area improving at the expense of another. And also, if one area is doing particularly well in driving strategy, there are some lessons that perhaps could be learned and could be applied to others. So there are some obvious things you need to ask here, like what exactly am I measuring across each of the areas at a strategic level and at a tactical level. So, for example, tracking the number of patients on a pet health plan and as a percentage of active patients is a good high-level KPI to have at a strategic level. And perhaps at the tactical level, having some detail around new, lapsed, retained, weekly sign-ups, this kind of thing, will help inform your tactics. So, it could be that overall it's looking good from a strategic level, but when you look at the detail, you find although you're signing up lots of new people onto the plan, you're actually losing a fair few as well. So that will then mean you need to also adjust your tactics to how you retain clients on the plan. You also need to ask, how will I track progress? So showing your actual position at that moment with appropriate comparisons. Is that comparisons against last year, against targets, etc., and the progress towards the goal, and how you're going to report on that progress as well. And it's important to have these regular get-togethers, probably monthly, where you can have a report on the progress and have some of these statistics and numbers here that you may want to use to track it, discuss them, see how things are going, and so on. But also, if you're not on track, what are you going to do? Is it the target that's wrong? For example, you might have got a bit overly ambitious. So do you need to look at that? Or is it that you can do something more or something different to get yourself back on track? So those are the sorts of things that you need to think about when you're measuring your success, and obviously bringing them together in a nice little presentation format that doesn't take too much time to fill out, because you don't want people spending ages filling stuff out. So if you can get it automated, all the better. And if it looks pretty, lovely. But the main thing is this showing me how I'm doing and how I'm progressing towards the goal, and how I've done compared with last month, and am I on the right journey with this particular strategy? So that's it. Just a kind of brief summary now, which I'm going to do in the form of a poem. Please, brace yourselves for some poetry here. Swat, 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 what you got? Quite a lot. Hear some voices, make some choices, and now begin to plot. Make a plan from where you stand to where you want to be in 3, with steps so smart, part science, part art, and you'll have done a strategy. But don't just sit back and treasure it, crack on with it and measure it. Adapt it as you begin to play until you're headed the right way. So I think we can all agree I'm no Brian Bilston or Dr. Seuss, but and I should probably lay off the medicine for a while. But I do hope that you found this VMG Microburst series useful. And if you'd like to know more about VMG, then please go to vetmg.com. Or if you'd like to know more about what I do with my training consulting, then please visit mongreltrainingandconsulting.com. Thank you ever so much, and have a lovely Christmas. And please don't forget to download the report and undertake the online self-assessment. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much, Chris. I think it's probably the most creatively delivered CPD I've seen in a very long time. I had no idea you had some poetry skills. We're going to have to use those.
I was very unwell about a week ago, and I was taking lots of cough medicine, so I think I blame it on that.
It clearly got something going. That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Chris, both for today and for the whole series. If anybody wants to start from the beginning and kind of revisit parts 1 and 2, they are available on our LinkedIn page, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. So please do go and look them up. As Chris says, if you want to contact him, you can do. Details on the bottom of the screen there. And please do go and investigate our leadership standards framework. We're just in the process of revisiting the data for 2024. Now we're coming towards the end of the year, and we'll be launching that at VMG Congress in April. This is the end of this strategy mini-series. Our next mini-series in the new year is going to be looking at communication. So another of the areas that people felt less confident at when assessing their own leadership and management skills. So do keep an eye on our socials and on our newsletters and the website for information about those coming up in 2025. So thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will see you in 2025. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Bye-bye.